Hello everyone and welcome to another one of my tutorial videos. Today we're going to be going over custom settings and what they do and the caveats to it and the pros and cons to using custom settings. Some of the things you can do with the custom settings that some people might not be aware about, and general information about it, because I did search the internet and there's some things, information about it, but it's one of the rare things, so I decided to put my own out and put my own spin on it. So without further ado, let's get going. All right, welcome in everyone. So what we're going to do today is we're going to open up our custom settings, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about them and how they work. And I'll explain what each setting does, because there is a lot of them, and sometimes they're a little bit non-descriptive what they do. But I have had this game for quite a long time. I've done a lot of tournaments with this game, and I've used the custom settings quite a bit. So I'm very familiar with them. So let's dive in and I'll show you what we got going on. So to access them, it's survival mode. There's only mode you can use for custom settings. So we go survival mode and then we click new. And down here it says custom. You just click on that. And before we go over this screen, I want to tell you a couple of things about custom settings. If you use any kind of custom game, any custom setting at all, it will not count towards your feat progress, and it will not count towards achievement progress. So if you're looking to, get your feats earned, or get achievements, you have to do it on a vanilla mode. You cannot use custom settings, unfortunately. So I want to put that out there straight away, because some people get confused, and I have people come in my stream and ask me, I had a really nice run of 500, and it didn't register my achievement, and then they told me they were running a custom game, and I said, oh well, that's why you can't use custom settings if you want to earn feat progress or achievement progress. So without further ado, so we'll go over, talk about other things, the good things and the bad things about custom settings, and before as we go. And one other thing I might want to add is the custom settings in this game is, let's just say if you set this on Interloper, what happens is when you change these, it changes all the settings to what the vanilla game is supposed to be like, what the vanilla mode is supposed to be like. It's not completely accurate. Now it's very, very close. I've had situations in Interloper where I found a piece of loot that I wasn't supposed to get on Interloper, or I would get too much or not enough. It was very erratic. Over time, it's gotten a lot better, but there's still those little things to look out for. So let's get started on what these are and what they do. So at the top here, like I said, you want to do a custom game. It's best to start at whatever mode you think is closest to what you're looking for, because it does save you a lot of time later making settings. So let's just go. Never mind my phone. I hope you don't mind my phone ringing. Let's set it ring. Somebody else will get it.
Call from 800
So
service.
I'm going to start with Interloper. Let's just start with Interloper. And I want to show you the differences between, some of these modes. And there's quite a big
Call
difference
from
between a lot of them.
800 service.
The first setting here is called baseline resource availability. This is really huge on the different mode settings. And I'll show you. When I switch these, look at the change from Pilgrim, which is the easiest mode, to Interloper, and above Misery, Interloper is low. So basically what this setting is, this will determine what tools you will find in the game. Now they could be hammers, they could be hatchets and knives. Hammers are a little bit affected by the setting too, and what will happen is this will be affected by whether a hammer will spawn in a forge region because, like for example, an interloper generally 99% of the time you'll never find a heavy hammer in a zone where there's a forge. It just adds difficulty to the mode. They want the developers want you to go out to a different region, find the hammer, blah blah blah, come all the way back with your stuff in forge, and I get that part. So basically, this will control all that. It will also control if you get hatchets and knife spawns. So if you have this on low, for instance, which is the reason why interloper, you don't find hatchets or knives in the game. You actually have to forge them yourself, forge all your tools. This sometimes will also affect, even though that doesn't say it doesn't affect rifles and revolvers, like in the end here, in the bottom here, it sometimes will affect cleaning kits and ammo. So if you want to play like Gunloper, for instance, a lot of times I find it a little bit better of an experience if you change it to medium, and then police yourself and don't pick up the interloper loot. You can, as an interloper player, should have control and not be able to pick up that stuff. But generally, if I run it on low, I usually don't have a problem with cleaning kits or ammunition. So leaving it on low is actually okay for the most part. So the next one, starting time of day. This is pretty self-explanatory. This tells you the time of day you want to spawn, and random is just what it means. It could spawn at dawn, dusk, or at dawn, dusk, or noon. So you can also switch these to spawn at dawn, noon, or at dusk. You can control that this way. Interloper is set to random, which is why sometimes you spawn at night, sometimes you spawn in the morning, sometimes you spawn at noontime. Moving on to the next one is the starting weather. This is pretty self-explanatory as well. You can have a random start, so it could be a blizzard or it could be a nice, beautiful sunny day. And of course, you can change it here: clear, light snow, heavy snow, or blizzard. I was running a tournament one time. It was a Dead World tournament, but I added some spins to it, and I had all the players spawn at dusk in a blizzard, and they all had a scramble to find shelter and matches and everything, and it was dark. So that if you want to add a lot of difficulty to your spawn, you can just enable these, and you'll be surprised how much difficult your run could be. Okay, so next one, indoor spawns permitted. This is exactly what it says. You can spawn indoors. If you spawn no, if you select no, you cannot spawn indoors. You'll always spawn outdoors. Pretty simple as that. It's pretty simple. Now, if you notice, if I switch to Pilgrim, it goes to yes. But in Interloper, of course, it will not spawn you indoors. Survivor monologue. This is the speaking of the characters. You can turn them on or off, yes or no, and some people turn them off. Some people leave them on because they do leave verbal cues like, oh, I'm thirsty, or I'm hungry, or this, or I'm cold. Some people like that as a little reminder that to watch your meters and be careful of the environment and all that. Like I said, this is just your preference. If you don't want to listen to them, you can turn it off. Okay, so moving down to the environment settings. Length of day multiplier. What this does is you can change it from 1x, which is the default, to 2x and up. And basically what this does is it makes the game longer, the game day longer, so as compared to real time. So like the closer you get higher up to, like, say 4, for instance, it will be very almost close to real time. Not quite. It'd be a lot shyer than it, but it's pretty close to real time. So sometimes I like to, if you're doing like tutorial videos, or if you're doing something like you want a longer daylight hours, you could switch it to 2x and get a lot longer day cycle. So it's really good. Weather variability is how often does the weather change between being clear, being snowy, being cloudy, being foggy, being, blizzard. This controls how often that changes. So If set to very high, which is interloper, and this is why an interloper, it could 1 minute it could be blizzarding, and the next minute it could be calm and sunny. It changes quite rapidly, so this controls that setting. Blizzard frequency. This coincides with this setting, and if you set it to very high, blizzards will be obviously very high. So like you could get a blizzard almost every day with a very high setting. Pretty much likely, in my experience, if you set the very high, you're pretty much guaranteed to get at least one blizzard a day. Yeah, for sure. I run this setting quite a bit. I guess I'm kind of used to it. Okay, so this one here, world gets colder over time. So when you start, and this also depends on your difficulty level you're playing, this will also modify that as well, depending on what difficulty you're playing. So basically what happens is you start at a certain temperature cap. So it only gets certain cold, right? It only gets a certain warmth outside. What happens is over time, and it, like I said, it changes the difficulty. And interloper, it's 50 days, where you start to reach maximum cold and maximum heating. And then you also have 100 days is for stalker. And I believe Voyager, I don't think you have that setting. I think it actually, let's check it. In Voyager, yeah, it's at a very low. So basically, when your temperature at 100 days or 200 days or 300 days won't really get much colder than when you first spawned. Okay, that's kind of what this setting means. On Interloper, of course, it's set to high. So in 50 days, you better have a good enough gear or you're going to be constantly cold all the time. So that's pretty much what that means. Wind variability. This is... Now, it's really strange because Interloper is set to medium. I usually run, like if I run Nagoa or if I run other challenges, I'll set this up to high. Basically what this is it sets the variation in the wind based on time in the game. So like a lot of times you can be out and like 5-10 minutes of game time and it will be not windy, and then all of a sudden it'll get a little bit windy, and then it'll get even more windy, and then it will come back to being calmer again, and that will go through that cycle. And sometimes that cycle will coincide with blizzards or will go and coincide with snow. That's why sometimes if it's snowing, it's not always windy. So this will control the variance and how much wind you get and how often you get it. This setting is pretty self-explanatory. Aurora frequency. How often do you get auroras? It starts at none. I think you can turn it off. None, no auroras. Very high, I think, or just high. Okay, so that's pretty much what that is. So like if you set on high, you could probably get a aurora like every 2-3 days maybe. I've had them back-to-back auroras before with this on high, and I've also had them 4 days apart. So this is not really that accurate, this setting. I've seen auroras being pretty erratic in this game, to be honest. But, okay, so moving on to the next one. Fire overcomes ambient air temperature. What this means is, like what it says, is if you put a stick on a fire, it automatically comes up to whatever the ambient air temperature is wherever you're at. So, like... I'll show you this. Like some of the lower settings, like it's set to yes, and what that means is, no matter how cold you are, as soon as you light the fire, you'll immediately be warm. So up in the higher difficulties, like Interloper, like this, what'll happen is you'll start the fire, and depending how cold you are, you might not start to warm up until you add more fuel until that fire overcomes the ambient air temperature. So this setting will control whether that does that or not. Okay, Endless Night. This is a new setting they added, fairly recently. Basically, what this means is it's nighttime all the time. There's never sunny. It's continual darkness from the moment you spawn in till whenever you either die or you quit or whatever like that. That's basically it. It's permanent darkness, perpetual darkness. Okay. Moving on to your health settings. These are sometimes a little bit janky, in some kind of ways, but they're actually pretty good lately. I haven't really had much complaints about them. But okay, so these are some of these are definitely self-explanatory, and I'll just glance over them. I don't need to drone on about a lot of these. But calorie burn rate. This is how fast you get hungry, pretty much. Uh, it goes by a timer, a game timer, or it also goes by your drain. Like if your stamina, if you're sprinting, your calorie burn will also increase. This is your overall setting of your calorie burn rate. Thirst rate is the same, just with water. This controls how fast you get thirsty. Fatigue rate. This controls how fast you get tired in the game. Okay. Freezing rate. This controls how fast you freeze. So in other words, freeze to hyperthermia. Like if you're outside and you get into red zone in your thermometer reading, you'll start to get hyperthermia risk, and this will control how fast that happens. So if you're playing in Pilgrim, let's say for instance, which I think the setting is off, or okay, set at it's set at very low, which means it'll take you a long time before you actually start getting that freezing hyperthermia kind of danger. So that's just what this setting does. Okay, this is where we get into the condition recovery settings. At rest means what's your recovery rate when you're sleeping? Condition recovery rate, what's your condition recovery when you're awake? And this matters because if any of your meters are in the red, if you're thirsty, if you're hungry, or if you're cold, right? Or if you're sleepy, if you're tired, this setting, you will not gain any condition. The only way you can gain condition while you're awake is to make sure your meters are fully white. Once they do that, you will gain condition. The at rest means is how much you gain when you sleep. Okay. Hyperthermia recovery rate. This is the setting that will set the amount of time it takes you to get from hyperthermia to having not hyperthermia. So for the recovery rate, how fast you heal from hyperthermia. Excuse me, that's what that means. Frostbite rate, how quickly you get frostbite. If you don't have anything on your hat, on your head, on your feet, on your hands, you can get frostbite. This just changes. This tells you how fast that happens. Okay, moving along. Cabin fever. It's what it says. You can turn it on or off. You can have cabin fever on or off in your run. If anybody does not know what it is, you can kind of look it up to help you out with some of these settings. If I don't get to something fully, I don't want to make this a really long video. I'm just trying to go over the settings. But cabin fever is basically if you stay in an indoor location for a certain amount of time, you get this affliction. And it's usually it starts off as a risk, and then when you get it, it means you can't sleep inside for a certain amount of time. That's what cabin fever is. You can turn it on or off. Intestinal parasites. This is one that a lot of people don't quite get because of difficulty level. Because in Voyager and in Pilgrim, you can eat raw meat will not give you parasite risk. If you play in Stalker or above, if you eat raw meat, you have a chance of getting intestinal parasites. Now, in this game, intestinal parasites is a pain. If you get them, it's 20 days of antibiotics. You lose, fatigue and sleep, and it's just some big mess. So, a lot of people turn this off, but I think having it on is really good. I mean, it gives a lot of dynamics to the game. It makes you pay more attention to what you eat. All right, dysentery. This involves drinking dirty water. So, if you accidentally drink bad water, you'll get this. You have a chance of getting dysentery. This will turn it on or off. Sprains. I think anybody who's ever played this game knows about this setting. Sprains. This controls with. Now you can't control the level. You can only control whether you get them or not. Now, this has helped me out in settings in this, like doing tutorial videos. Like if I'm trying to show, I've used it in some of my tour videos just so I don't have to worry about sprains. But normally, even most of my tutorials, I actually have it still on. But that's what this does. Food poisoning. This controls whether you can get food poisoning or not. If you eat a low condition food item, it's possible you can get sick off of it. Excuse me. This controls whether you can or not. Broken ribs. Now, broken ribs you get if a moose stomps on you. You have a matter of fact, if a moose stomps you, you're guaranteed to get broken ribs. This controls whether you get them or not if you get stomped by a moose. Moving right along, rest is a resource. Basically, what this is you wake up. Okay, so basically, what happens is you can't sleep past when you're fully rested. So if you have this turned off, it means you can sleep as long as you want, providing you don't starve or you still have to drink and eat when you sleep in this game. Otherwise, you can lose condition. But using rest as a resource is a way to make the game a little bit more difficult, and that's why it's enabled. It's turned off in Interloper because, it's turned off means you can't sleep past your full rested period. I hope I'm explaining that correctly. I don't want to beat this horse to death, but that's pretty much what that means. Scurvy. This controls the amount of the chances. I'm sorry, not the chance, but like the drain rate of scurvy. How soon do you need vitamin C to counteract the scurvy? Fires prevent freezing. Basically, this is almost like that other setting with the fire. And basically, what this does is, if as long as you're sitting, you can become colder when sitting there, like it says on the side over there. Like if you have a fire, you can become colder, but you'll never actually begin freezing. As long as there's a fire there, it doesn't matter how hot the fire is. As long as there's a fire there and you're next to it, you won't freeze. That's what this setting means. Okay, so this one is shouldn't even be in there in my opinion, but like it says, wake up a player when you're freezing. Like so in this game, if you're cold and your fire blows out when you're sleeping, you can die in your sleep. You freeze in your sleep, and this will control whether that happens or not. Okay, last setting in this group: birch bark tea crafting. Birch bark in this game is a condition regenerator. If you drink a birch bark tea, it will give you condition. It will. I believe it's like 15%. It's not. No, it's 5%. Sorry, it's not a lot. Or I could be wrong about that, but it's not a lot. I think it's 5. Somebody can correct me in the comments section if you like to. But birch bark tea crafting, it allows you to restore condition. You can turn it on or off. If it's turned off, the only thing you can use birch bark for is for tinder. Okay, moving along to the gear section. Gear item decay rate. This controls how fast your gear will decay, will go bad. Loose item availability. What this controls is like a random bag of chips on the ground, or a random candy bar on the table, or a can of tomato soup on the shelf. That's what this controls. This is the loose item availability. How much loose loot is there going to be available? Empty container chance modifier. What this does is this controls how much empty containers you have in the game. So if it's set on high, it means you get more empty containers and less containers with stuff in them. So that's why an Interloper is set to high, because that's why you get a lot of containers and cabinets and refrigerators and things that have no loot in them. They're empty, right? That's what this setting does. Sticks, branches, stones. This is how often sticks, branches, and stones respawn. It's low, medium, high, I believe. Starting gear allocation. This controls what you spawn with. So if you have it on a medium setting or above, you will spawn with a bedroll usually, and you'll spawn with some cardboard matches. On Interloper, this is set to low, means on Interloper you do not spawn with a bedroll and you do not spawn with matches. So that's what this setting does. This controls what gear you spawn with, and also controls your starting clothing. Like, you can have a little bit better clothing. The higher up you go, you have much better clothing. Okay. Rifle ability, these are easy to explain. Either you have rifles or you don't. Yes or no. Rifles in the game, revolvers in the game. Harvestable plants availability. This controls how much mushrooms you can find in the game. It controls the rose hips that you can find in the game. And it also controls the amount of cattails that you have in the game, too. This also controls cattails as well. Reduce container item density. Um, this setting, yeah, like it says, modifies the amount of gear you find in each container that is not empty. So, like, any container that has any loot in it has a item. This will control how much other loot it will have in it. So, instead of it having one bag of chips, it might have a bag of chips and peanut butter and canned goods and other things in it. This controls that setting. Okay? All right, moving on to wildlife. We're almost finished, guys. We're almost near the end. All right, wildlife spawns. Cougars or no cougars? These are all chance of spawns right here. Okay, these are not amounts. So, like, if this is set on high, it does not mean amount of wolves. It means the spawn chance. Some people get this confused and they say, hey, I have this on a low setting, but there's still 5 wolves over there or whatever. It, like I say, it's the chance that they'll spawn, right? That's what that is, low, medium, or high. And the same goes with all of these, all the wildlife. This is all by chance. Okay. Time to wildlife respawn. This is, let's say, for instance, you kill a wolf and you harvest it. This controls the amount of time that that wolf will respawn. So if it's set to high, means it will respawn quicker. If it's set to low, it will respawn longer. It will take a longer time to respawn. Okay, that's what that means. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. My mistake. It's actually backwards. This should be the other way around. Just as a low setting, you'll see more frequent. So, like high time means more time, not more. They mean more wildlife spawn in a shorter amount of time. So that's what that means right here. So that's what that controls. This controls over time. You'll get less and less respawns. So just what it says, reduced wildlife population. So over, let's say, 200 days, 300 days, 500 days, you'll see less and less wildlife spawning in the game. Eventually, it'll get to the point where you'll hardly see a deer around. You'll hardly see a rabbit around. I'm talking 1,000 days or more, or even 2,000 days. Yeah, there are people out there that have 2,000 or more days in this game per run, and that's what this controls. Wolf spawn distance. This controls how close a wolf will spawn on you. If you have it set to close, it might spawn pretty much right on top of you. You could be walking down the road and one will come out from behind the rock and attack you. That's what this means. So it could be close, medium, or far away. Grace period means when you spawn in, you have a 24-hour grace period before you have encounter any predators. So when you spawn in, there'll be no predators anywhere. There'll only be, deer and rabbits and things, but there won't be bear, there won't be wolves, there won't be moose for 24 hours. Okay, so let's get into the behavior here a little bit. Smell range means just what it is. How far away do they have to be, or how close do they have to be to you before they can smell you? And that's pretty much what this says. So high means they can be very high, very far away, and still smell you. Low means they have to be close to you to smell you. And when you're carrying meat in this game, or you're carrying raw guts, you start to stink. And the more stink you have in this game, the more you attract the wildlife, the bad stuff. And this controls how much you stink from each level, from the amount that you carry. Passive wildlife means that if it's turned on, they'll run away from you. That's pretty much what Pilgrim is. The wildlife will run away from you if they see you. or you can either turn it on or off. Wildlife attacks during rest. This is important because you can be sleeping in an area where a wolf may spawn, and if you're sleeping near there, a wolf can actually attack you while you're sleeping. So that's what this setting does. Either the wildlife can attack you while you're sleeping, or it can't. Wolf fear. What this is this will tell you the amount of chances you can scare a wolf away using a torch or a stone, a flare pistol, or anything like that. When you use something to scare the wolf, this will determine how quickly or how much the wolf will get scared away. Okay, Timberwolf morale. This one controls how easy it is to kill the morale in a Timberwolf pack. So the meter will be smaller or it will be longer depending on what the setting is. That's pretty much what it is. You'll either if it's set on high, what'll happen is you'll have a bigger meter, okay? But it also increases your weapon and aim effectiveness. So it counteracts it, and it adds more balance to the Timberwolf morale meter. Wildlife detection range. This is an overall global setting that affects deer and rabbits and things. Like how far away do you have to be for a deer to see you and start running? That's pretty much what that is. And last but not least, you have a few more settings left, and we can be done. I didn't want to bore you, but I did want to give you plenty of detail because I do have people asking me what these settings do. And I just figured I'd put it out there, and I can just direct them to this. Okay, so the last few affect, what it says, your struggle effectiveness against a predator. So basically, this is totally mode dependent as well. So like, this is why in a wolf struggle, an interloper, the wolves hit very, very hard in interloper. Now, there's not quite as many. They don't quite affect you as much as like Stalker has. Stalker seems to really have the most wolves of all the modes, but that they don't hit as hard. An interloper wolf will hit really hard, and what that means is that's affected by the struggle bonus right here. The next one is a damage modifier. This will affect the conditional damage you receive during a struggle. So like if you have this will determine the damage you get from a predator. Like if they bite you, how much does it hurt you? How much condition does it take from you? This one affects your clothing. How much damage does your clothing take when a wolf attacks you? How much damage does your clothing take when a bear mauls you? Things like that. And the damage severity, this affects the damage from the wildlife outcome. So what this does is after the attack is over, you also have another setting that affects how much damage you take as far as it tells you here, blood loss and clothing. So this is like during a struggle, and this is kind of after the struggle, if that makes any sense. It's kind of weird. It's kind of an additional damage modifier that they add. It's kind of like added onto it. So, all right, I just had one more thing to show you guys, and then we can make this a wrap. Down here, down at the bottom, you see these buttons down here. Share code, enter code. What's really nice about this is I use this all the time in my tournaments. And if I want to share a game with someone, I share settings with someone. If you click on share code, whatever you said here, you click on share code, it pops up with this box. You copy and paste this, right? And you can send it to your friend or whoever, and they on their end they click enter code, and they would paste it in here or type it in here and click accept, and they'll have the same settings that are in there. So this is really handy if you want to share your settings with anyone. So that's pretty much it. That covers the settings of this game. I hope I answered some of your questions. I'm sorry for making it kind of long. I do ramble quite a bit, but my thing is I try to be thorough and try to be detailed without being too over the top, but sometimes it gets me. I do apologize for that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell if you want to be notified if I release a new video. And we're going to be doing some more of these. I'm thinking about what game I want to play next. I'm not sure. I do want to play another game, but I'm not sure what I want to do yet. When I get that figured out, I'll let you know. Anyway, thank you for watching, and take care. Goodbye.